in the best interest of the patient. Thank you, students, for choosing health science as your profession. Your passion led you here to this faculty. Thank you for choosing to care. As Lewis Carroll states, and I quote, "One of life's deepest secrets is that all that is really worth doing is what we do for others." Thank you for choosing to do for others. I now call on Professor Helen, Head of the School of Therapeutic Sciences, to welcome you.
Good to get this off. Thank you very much. You've heard that I'm Professor Helen Miezwa, and I'm the head of School of Therapeutic Sciences, which is the second biggest school in this faculty. When I was asked to give this welcome address, I thought, that's not a problem. This will be reasonably easy, until I started asking the second year coordinators, what would a second year student want to hear after the relief of getting into second year and feeling, yes, I've arrived. I'm in the Got This Club. An educator once said, those that pass and proceed belong to the Got It Club and have passed and belong to the quadrant of that club. So yes, you've arrived in second year. So let me do what I was asked to do, which is to welcome you. Welcome to the Faculty of Health Sciences. I hasten to add ranked in the top 100 in clinical medicine and health science subjects. Welcome to the parents, those that have joined us online, and I'm not sure if we've got any that are here. And to my colleagues here on stage, welcome especially to the Dean, as this is his first time being face-to-face in the second year oath-taking. So I got a lot of advice from the second year coordinators on what they think I should say to you in this welcome address, as they have seen many a second year go through their hands, some of them for more years than others. But I'm not going to tell you that second year is not first year, because you know that. I'm not going to tell you that it's hard work and that there's more work, because you know that. I'm not going to tell you to study anatomy and physiology daily, because the workload is dang heavy and hectic and crazy. And I'm not going to tell you that your first test results often give you a fright. But what I'm going to tell you is it's the simple things that will get you through. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Belief in self, inform yourself, be prepared. I grew up with a father who believed in living by principle and told us a lot of parables and told us many principles to get us through a few of the stretches we experienced living with a politician, which he was, and who thought we should understand the complexities of the liberation struggle. At the age of 12, I had to travel via South Africa on the old SAL. Most of you will not know that's what SAA was called then, to get to boarding school in what was then Rhodesia. The plane was delayed, and we landed in Johannesburg from Lusaka via Malawi. After a long flight, after a delayed flight, the only flight to Salisbury then had left. The airline decided to put us in a hotel in Johannesburg Central. As a minor, I was escorted by a lovely air hostess. It was close to midnight when we arrived at the hotel. Everyone was booked in and given a room except me. Being a polite convent girl, I waited patiently. Eventually, a policeman came and said, "Come with me." And I was driven to the local police station. When I got there, I was given a blanket and told to sleep in a cell. So I'm an ex-convict. I kept asking why, but I got no answers. Later, I understood that the hotel did not take people of my color. The policeman was kind. He offered me hot milk, and before telling me he would not leave until they had collected me in the morning. It's a long story as to what happened after that. But what is important about this story is I sat down and I pulled out my notebook, and I wrote one of the parables my father liked to tell my brother and I. And you know what dads are like. They tell you a story at least 6 times a year and behave as if it's the first time that they've told you that story. He used to say, every time you hold a pencil, remember this story. The pencil maker took the pencil aside after making it. Before putting it down in the box, he said, there are 5 things you need to know. Before I send you into the world, always remember them and never forget that you will become the best pencil you can be. You will be able to do many great things, but only if you allow yourself to be held in someone's hand. So as you come to this faculty, find someone who will hold your hand. The second thing he said is you will experience pencil sharpening from time to time, but you will need it to become a better pencil. My experience at 12 was my first real sharpening. You will be able to correct any mistakes you make. Remember that, even as you write a test or an exam. You will be able, the most important thing, part of you will always be what is inside. At 12, I kept telling myself, it's what's inside that matters. So remember that. But remember, it's not inside in your heart, it's also in your head. So as you study, ensure that what you know inside is truly what you know. On every surface, and this was the 5th thing he said to the pencil, on every surface you are used on, you must leave your mark. No matter what the condition, you must continue to write. And that is true as an exam technique and approach. The pencil understood and promised to remember and went into the box with purpose in its heart. So no matter your sharpening in the next 4, 6, or however many years you are deemed to study today, be clear what you know in your head and in your heart. On every exam and test surface, leave a meaningful mark. And no matter your panicked condition, go in prepared and continue to write like the pencil. Let someone hold your hand when you feel overwhelmed or unsure, and go into second year with purpose in your heart. So welcome to this great faculty, and have fun while you live and you learn. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Helen. Our next speaker is Professor Shabir Mahdi. He is a professor of vaccinology. You might have seen him on TV, as he is often requested to comment on the pandemic, as he is one of the experts of the World Health Organization Strategic Advisory Group on COVID-19 vaccine. Ladies and gentlemen, I am more proud, though, to introduce you to the Dean of the Faculty of Health Science, Prof. Mahdi. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now I request you to give yourself applause. So it's truly a pleasure for me to welcome you to the University of Witwatersrand. Those of you that are in first year, those of you that are in second year, unfortunately we weren't able to host the same event, as well as those of you that are entering into the graduate education, the graduate entry medical program. Getting accepted into this program is a major, major achievement. I don't think you understand the amount of competition you've been up against to be able to gain entry into this program. At the University of Witwatersrand each year, we have roughly about 1,000 students that enter into our medical programs, into one of the many medical disciplines. And of those 1,000, they've competed against 40,000 other students. 40,000 other students. In our MBBCH program, we've got 14,000 applicants, and we are only able to take 270 applicants. So the fact that you've made it here is itself a major achievement. So well done to you again. So before going on, I would like to introduce to you, and in no particular order, those of my staff members that are sitting behind me, included in today's ceremony. And I'm going to ask you just perhaps to raise your hand so they know who I'm speaking to, is the person that you need to run to when you've got any problems as a student. And that is the Dean of Student Affairs, Mr. Jerome September. You've heard from Prof. Helen who's the head of the School of Therapeutic Sciences. Also today is Professor Tobias Chirwa, who's the head of School for Public Health. Professor Dania Bellet, who's the head of School for Clinical Medicine. Professor Amadi Ihunwo, who's the new head of School for Anatomical Sciences. Professor Joy Shackleton, the acting head of School for Oral Health Sciences. Mrs. Sandra Ben, who's a faculty registrar. Mrs. Elaine Maleka, who's the manager of the Office of Student Success. Dr. Elizabeth Ndoforepi, lecturer and academic advisor. Dr. Constance Coupe, who's the academic advisor. Dr. Pranisha Pillay, who's a course coordinator. Ms. Nabila Bemuth, who's a Bachelor of Health Sciences academic coordinator. Mr. Edgar Bukobje, who's the MBBCH administrator. Dr. Mantwa Mukachana, who's the head of the undergraduate medical education program. And Prof. Veronica Insia, who's head of physiotherapy. Welcome. So I've been asked to say a few words about the University of Witwatersrand, and today takes me back to 1985, 37 years ago. And that is when I joined the University of Witwatersrand, and that is when I was sitting in the audience, similar to you, hearing from the Dean about what this medical school is all about, what is expected of students, and what you can expect to receive from WITS. The difference is, when I sat as a student amongst the rest of my first-year classmates, when I looked around, we were people of color constituted about 10 to 15% of the medical class, 10 to 15% of a class of about 250 students. So it was rare to actually see any it was difficult to see any sort of diversity amongst the class that entered in 1985. And certainly that has been the history until very recently, until after 1994, where there's been fundamental changes that's been brought about. Now, much is said about the university and the University of Witwatersrand being a very politically charged campus. And when people talk of it as being a politically charged campus, it appears to have a negative connotation in that you're always going to be experiencing challenges, you're always going to be experiencing disruptions. But very few people see it as an opportunity for growth. And what it really is an opportunity for growth. So what we've got now is we certainly don't have the representation of the demographics of the country in terms of the entrance into our medical programs, but we don't expect to redress the evils of apartheid over a period of even 2 to 3 generations. It's going to take us time to be able to do that. But at the same time, what we've got is a much greater diversity. And in the diversity is differences in thoughts, the differences in ideology, political or religious, and a number of other differences. Also differences in terms of where we've been brought up, which schools we've gone to. Amongst you are those that have gone to the poorest of poorest schools in the country. 20% of the class of the first year MBBCH class have gone to the poorest of poorest schools, what we refer to as quintile 1 to 3 schools. Those schools have had very limited opportunity to move on to online learning, unlike those of you that came from private schools, those of you that came from what we refer to as quintile 5 schools in the public sector that have been able to make the transition. So we've got diversity, and in the diversity, what we need to consider it to be is diversity for the purpose of developing strength. And as an individual, you need to make use of this diversity. So you've got a choice that you need to make as a student. You can't be a student that is just here to basically get your degree and then move on. Or you can be that student that is wanting to learn about the world outside of the classes that many of us have existed in up until the time we enter into the university. And making that sort of a transition, moving away from your comfort zone, moving away from be it the same sort of race group that you've mainly engaged with, moving away from be it the same sort of religious group that you've been able to engage with. It's not something that doesn't happen naturally. It needs to be done consciously. And if you don't do that, unfortunately, the person that's going to be poorer off for this experience over the course of the next 4 to 6 years in this university is you as an individual. You've got an opportunity to learn about South Africa. You've got an opportunity to learn about the backgrounds of others. You've got an opportunity to engage with others that have come from very different social, economic, religious backgrounds as yourself. And I urge you to take this very seriously when you move forward in the next few years of your studies. Now, when we talk of university, many of you have been completely overwhelmed getting through your matric exams. And that was a challenge, and certainly remains a challenge for this current year's matriculants. The uncertainty about the exams, the uncertainty which COVID-19 has brought about with regard to whether you were going to get adequate type of tutoring, mentoring, the uncertainty of your results, but all of it has come to a point where now you have entered into university. But what you need to realize, and Prof. Moyeze alluded to this, at university, what you will do in a first year class, as an example in physics and chemistry, in the first trimester, you would do the equivalent of what you've actually done during the course of grade 11 and grade 12. So that is the reality, and that's one of the reasons why we find that we have got a massive challenge in terms of throughputs of students in the first year of whichever degree they actually enter into, not just Wits, but every other university. So to be able to be successful, you need to start recalibrating. You cannot expect to be leaving things for the last minute. You need to be proactive. You need to be engaging. You need to take the initiative. The lecturers are there to impart knowledge, but they're not there to learn the material for you. That is your responsibility, and that is the responsibility which many of you have taken already, and that's the reason why you are seated here today. Now, as we all know, we're heading into the second year of COVID-19, and it's been massively disruptive at multiple levels. You've been able to navigate it from an academic perspective in that you've succeeded, you are here, but at the same time it's had an impact. It's had an impact in terms of the last 2 years that we experienced at school, which were meant to be our most precious years, the most memorable years of what it is to be in school. For students that entered into Wits University last year, your first year, as well as some of the students that are now entering into the GEM program, the Graduate Entry Medical Program, you've been around in the university for 3 years, but you've only had 1 year of an experience as a student. So there's been major deprivation at multiple fronts when it comes to the impact that COVID-19 has had on our lives. But we are at the point, fortunately, where we can truly start believing that we passed the worst. And that is cause for celebration. It has come at massive cost in South Africa. In South Africa, we've had close to 300,000 people die of COVID-19 in a period of 21 months. 300,000 people that have died of COVID-19. So it's come at massive cost. Inadvertently, what has happened is that we've got extensive amount of immunity that has arisen across the population amongst you. 75, in fact now 85 of you, whether you know it or not, you have actually been infected with the virus during the course of the past 4 waves of COVID-19, at least 85% of you. And this is information that we've got from studies that we've done led from the University of Witwatersrand, looking at what percentage of the population, and particularly those in Gauteng, that have been infected. And it is that past infection coupled with what we strongly believe is still necessary, even at this point in time. And that is for every individual to be vaccinated, to be doing the responsible thing and to be vaccinated. Is a combination of those two events has brought us to a point where we can truly start believing that we are past the worst. And what that means for us, for you especially, is that it means that you're going to be beginning to have an experience as a student which a student should be having. And that is not needing to wear a face mask. And hopefully we'll be able to get rid of that very soon. Not now, else I'll be taken to task. Hopefully soon. But it also means that you'll be able to start having parties. And Mr. Jerome September will tell you how hard he is working to get students to start having parties as well. But most importantly, it means that we can start actually reworking how we start delivering educational material. And it doesn't mean that we're going to go en masse back to class, to face-to-face tutoring and lecturing, because there's a number of benefits to be had from online learning. And what we're looking at the faculty is sort of a hybrid approach, where we're basically able to leverage on the virtues of face-to-face interaction, as well as being able to provide material online, to allow people also to learn at their own speed. So we're really in a space right now where I'm fairly optimistic that during the course of the first quarter, we would be able to probably dispense of many of what's required, what has been required of us up until now in terms of reducing our risk of being infected with the virus. But like I said, vaccines are important and they remain important. And for those that are entering into the medical program, and irrespective of which of the programs it is, we need to understand that past infection, like I said, 85% of youth have been infected in the past, confers protection against severe disease and death. But it does very little, unfortunately, when it comes to protecting you against being infected with the virus. Inadvertently, South Africa is a very fortunate position in that it's a country which, at huge cost, has had a large percentage of the population that were infected with the virus. Coupled to that, we've got vaccines that are available. And that's what we refer to as hybrid immunity, immunity that is induced both by vaccines as well as infection. That type of immunity, in fact, is the best form of immunity that can materialize and is able to protect you not only against severe disease and death, but also protects you against infection. And in the unlikelihood that you do have a breakthrough infection, it results in you being less likely to transmit the virus. So mandatory vaccination is not a punitive measure. It's not we're trying to assert ourselves and impose ourselves on the individual rights of individuals. We are trying to do what is good for society. We are trying to do what is good and needed for institutions such as WITS, so that we don't have disruption of teaching and learning when we do experience outbreaks in classes because not enough people are protected against being infected and transmitting the virus to others in that particular class. So if you haven't completed your vaccination, you do know that the university has provided some sort of latitude in terms of you needing to complete your vaccination by March. Please do complete your vaccination. But in this group, I don't expect any of you not to have been vaccinated. So well done to that as well. So what is happening in the Faculty of Health Sciences? Now, you might or might not know that the Faculty of Health Sciences at the University of Witwatersrand ranks amongst the top 200 of faculties of health sciences in the world globally. And this is amongst tens of thousands of universities. Globally, we rank amongst the top 200. We rank second on the continent, second to UCT, and we probably will displace UCT very soon, hopefully. But that's not the reason why we're wanting to be better. We're wanting to be better because we know that we've got a potential to be better. And that is the testimony to that is that this university has been the product of 4 Nobel laureates since its beginning, 4. Now, what do we want from this faculty? Among some of the disciplines in the faculty, in addition to the faculty being in the top 200 of faculties globally, we've got some disciplines in this faculty that are amongst the top 50 globally. So when it comes to infectious diseases, as an example, WIT ranks at number 29 globally. In public health, we rank at, I think, about number 60 or number 70 globally. In immunology, we rank around about number 100 globally. So we've got massive, massive skill sets. We are renowned for what we do. We are renowned for who we produce. If you go throughout the world, in any high-income country, be it the United Kingdom, be it Australia, be it the United States, you would find that key positions in those institutions are actually led by products of the University of Witwatersrand. And I'm not saying this to encourage you to leave South Africa after you've qualified. There are various reasons why people have left, and hopefully those reasons will become less important by the time you graduate. But we are proud of being able to produce staff, we are proud of being able to produce alumni that are world-renowned. Now, one of the major initiatives that we're embarking on in this faculty is really to raise the bar. Currently, I believe that the reason why I believe that we're going to probably move beyond UCT as the #1 faculty on the African continent is simply that this faculty, at this point in time, despite the tremendous amount of work that's done, probably doesn't punch at more than 20% of its weight. So we've still got huge potential for growth. And that growth is not just at the level of the staff, that is also growth at a level of the students and the products that we eventually produce, and I'll speak to that now. So one of the other examples of an initiative that is underway is that we have now established, and some of you might or might not have heard about this in the media, an infectious disease and oncology research institute. known as Idori. So opposite my office on 27 Ridge Road, there's this large building which we will basically be placing this institute. And this institute is being supported by none other than an alumni of this university. And that is the richest doctor in the world, who happens to be an alumni of the university, and many of you might have heard about him recently, and that is Dr. Patrick Jeong-Shun, who's based in Los Angeles. And he's decided, after having been outside of South Africa since the late 1970s, he's decided to come back and start investing in the country. So he's responsible for setting up a COVID-19 manufacturing facility in the Western Cape, but he's also engaging with the University of the Witwatersrand. And his passion is really to see us grow undergraduate students. And his passion is to see us actually inculcate an ethos and a spirit of research amongst undergraduate students. So for many of you, undertaking a degree in medicine or in dentistry or in physiotherapy, any of the therapeutic sciences, is one of wanting to be a clinician at the end of the day. And those clinicians are extremely important. It's what keeps the machinery of the healthcare system in the country pumping. That's extremely important. But equally important is we need to be able to generate and produce people that are going to be future leaders in terms of research, what we refer to as a clinician scientist. We need to start producing those. So one of the initiatives which you would fortunately be able to benefit from is that what we're moving towards is what we refer to as an intercalated PhD MBBCH program. Now just imagine, it might take you 7 or 8 years to qualify, but when you qualify, you won't qualify with MBBCH. You'll qualify with MBBCH plus a PhD, and you'll be able to wear a red gown as well. So a good reason to actually consider this. And we're not expecting a class of 250 and every individual to be excited about this. But amongst you are those, and when I met with some of the top achievers, I think it was late last year, there was some of you that actually came up to me and said, the main reason we're wanting to do medicine is we're not really interested in clinical care, but we're interested in the research that's going around. And certainly the research that's been taking place in medicine, COVID-19 has demonstrated the huge potential that exists to be able to make a difference, not just at an individual level, but at a global level when you are involved in research. So I look forward to at least 5 of the intake of 271 students in the first year MBBCH class in 7 years from now, or 6 years from now, actually graduating with both a PhD as well as an MBBCH. And I think it is achievable and something that we're going to aspire and ensure that we actually create the environment for that to take place. Now, other things that you would notice, unfortunately, as a first-year student, at least for this year, and think if you had waited till next year to finish your matric, you would have benefited from this, is that we're also re-looking the curriculum of the MBBCH program, and we probably will be doing the same for many of the other programs. And one of the reasons for that is we need to be able to produce graduates that are relevant to the 21st century. By the time you complete your studies as a medical doctor in 6 years from now, and I'm not just talking to medical doctors here, I understand that. By the time any of you complete your degrees in 5 to 6 years from now, certainly in 10 years from now, the manner in which we practice medicine is going to have substantially changed. Unless we actually keep up with what is happening when we refer to what we refer to as precision medicine, being able to customize management at an individual level, unless we change our curriculum to become more relevant, to be able to adopt AI as part of our teaching and curriculum, we are going to produce doctors that might be able to operate in a certain environment, but certainly wouldn't be relevant to the 21st century. So what we're looking at is a revision of the curriculum. When you go into second year, you would benefit from a revision in the second year, but from next year, we would have a very revised curriculum, very different to the one that I started off with in 1985, and which currently largely still remains intact. So we're looking at the revision of the curriculum, and hopefully that will bring about some sort of excitement about what you are taught as well as how you are taught things. Now, what are the other things that we're expecting of you as a student? What does it mean to be a Witsi? Like I said, you are entering into a politically charged environment, and you need to develop a stomach for it to survive. But you can make a difference, and the way to make a difference is not to remain part of the silent majority. It's to become the majority that is able to dictate and determine the way students should be managed, the way students should be engaged with in the faculty and at the university. And what that demands of you, like I said, is not to be a silent partner and a silent student. Because if you do that, the only person that you're shortchanging by doing so is yourself. So the university offers a number of opportunities with regard to people that might have various interests, and Jerome will speak to some of those opportunities with different types of societies and the possibility of being able to establish your own society. But at the same time, what is highly disappointing is that when I was a student in the 1980s, the black students generally wouldn't vote in the SRC elections. And in fact, at a medical school, we had a medical students council, which was for the white students, and for the black students, we had a black students council. The black students could vote for either, but they wouldn't bother voting for the medical students council because the demographics were going to be predetermined what the outcome of those elections were. Now, why is this important? So when we hear about students rising against the university, and when we hear about students being unhappy about the university, that unhappiness is being expressed by the duly elected Students' Representative Council. And if you haven't played your role in determining who enters into the Student Representative Council, to a large extent you forfeit your right to be heard. So we need to understand that when we make choices, and the same thing goes for voting in South Africa, when you make choices, those choices have got consequences. Like when you choose not to be vaccinated, as an example, it will come with consequences. You'll be denied access to certain parts of the university. When you choose not to cast your vote during an election, it comes with consequences in that people get elected who you completely opposed or you dislike for their politics, but they are the ones that are going to determine the way the country is managed. Within the university, it's no different. So this is really an appeal that as a student, your priority is about ensuring that you're successful in your academic career. But you will be doing yourself a disservice and you'll be doing other students a disservice by not getting involved in a broader student population as well as a number of other councils. Now, last but not least, this year heralds an important milestone in this university. For those of you that don't know it, this is the 100th year, centenary celebrations of the University of Witwatersrand. It has come a long, long way since 100 years ago. In fact, it's come a long way, as I mentioned, since 1985, when I first entered as a student into this university. And we're wanting you to get excited, because this is the time for you to start appreciating that you are becoming part of a collective, what we refer to as WITSEs, and it provides you an opportunity to make your mark, as an individual, as a collective. So there's a number of activities we plan to roll out during the course of the year in celebration of this centenary, and again, we appeal to the students to come up with ideas. In fact, we are going to be offering prize money, which seems to be the only sort of thing that really speaks to the heart of students. So we'll offer substantial prize money for those of you that start producing videos and start sharing experiences about your first year, about your second year, about your 3 years that you've already been here if you're entering into the graduate entry medical program. And we want it to be good experiences. We're not going to give you prize money for casting a negative light on the university. So just be selective about what you share with us. So once again, a great pleasure for me to welcome you. Look forward to engaging with you over the course of the next 4 to 6 years. And for those of you that can finish your degree within 4 to 6 years, please don't let it extend beyond that. You do have it within your ability to make sure that you actually complete your degree within the time span. But if you're negligent about what you're doing, when you're doing, and if you're reckless about it, this is the first time many of you are going to have freedom from your parents, freedom from the constraints of your house. That comes with a responsibility. Take that responsibility seriously. Don't let it become your enemy. Because if you are negligent, if you are reckless, you are the one that's going to pay the price. And the most distressing thing for me to do in my position as dean is to tell someone that they've now been removed from their studies because they've exceeded that time period during which we expect them to have completed the studies. So please don't become part of that number. Fortunately, it's only a handful, and it is within your ability to make sure that you don't make a part of that number. So once again, welcome to the University of Witwatersrand, and delighted to have you around.
Another round of applause for our Dean. Prof. Mahdi, on behalf of everyone present, I'd personally like to thank you for leading our country during this pandemic storm. And please thank your family as well. I know there have been many hours over the weekend, in meetings, overnight, late into the evening, so please thank your family as well for your service and for sharing you with us. Okay, so now we'd like to invite two medical students, Mr. Carl Kecha Ngazam and Mr. Bolokwa Hlomola, to render a music item. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Carl Kechangasam. This is Bohlokwa Tlomola, and I'm a fifth-year medical student. Bohlokwa is a final-year medical student, and I'm the founder of the CPR, Creating Prosperous Realities Foundation. So the point of our foundation is really to fund medical students' education. There's a lot of medical students, especially in the missing middle, that are not able to fund their school fees. So what we do as the CPR Foundation is we use our talents musically, artistically, and many other talents to create an income so that we can help fund people that can't fund their education. So today, we're going to perform for you, okay? But Bohlokwa is going to tell you a little bit more.
All right, thank you so much. An absolute pleasure to be here. I remember 4 years ago being very frightened, not exactly knowing what to expect. And the journey is so worth it. I can tell you now the journey is worth it. And we want to make sure that you reach the end of that journey. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here to offer our services and to just help wherever we can. So, here we go in terms of a performance. We hope you enjoy it. Thank you. I'm jealous of the rain that falls upon your skin. It's closer than my hands have been. Oh, I'm jealous of the rain. I'm jealous of the wind that ripples through your clothes. It's closer than your shadow. Oh, I'm jealous of the wind. 'Cause I wished you the best of all this world could give. And I told you when you left me, there's nothing to forgive. But I always thought you'd come back. Tell me all you found was heartbreak and misery. It's hard for me to say I'm jealous of the way you're happy without me. I'm jealous of the night that I don't spend with you. I'm wondering who you lay next to. Oh, I'm jealous of the night. I'm jealous of the love that wasn't here gone for someone else to share. Oh, I'm jealous of the love. 'Cause I wished you the best of all this world could give. And I told you when you left me, there's nothing to forgive. But I always thought you'd come back. Tell me all you found was heartbreak and misery. It's hard for me to say I'm jealous of the way you're happy without me. As I sink in the sand, watch you slip through my hands. Oh, as I die here another day, all I do is cry behind the smile. I wished you the best of all this world could give. And I told you when you left me, there's nothing to forgive. But I always thought you'd come back. Tell me all you found was heartbreak and misery. It's hard for me to say I'm jealous of the way you're happy without me. It's hard for me to say I'm jealous of the way you're happy without me. Thank you so much.
Yes, health science has got talent. Tata, tata. Thank you for making a difference, Carl and Bolokwa. The following speaker was appointed Dean of Students at Wits University in May 2018. He has always held the interests, well-being, and development of students as the greatest priority in all spaces I have shared with him. He used to be my boss's boss when I was on main campus. Please put your hands together for Mr. Jerome September.
Thank you. Program Director, Dean, heads of school, academic staff, students, as if it's not difficult enough to follow your dean, you had to put a piano-playing doctor and a singing doctor ahead of me, and there's like absolutely no way I can live up to that expectation, but they are booked for the Free People's Concert. We've got to book them for the WITS 100 Free People's Concert, which I will tell you a little bit about. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Good afternoon to each and every one of you. I am that guy that would be the difficult patient. When you say to me in December, this is your prescription, I am likely to be the one to ask, but can I still drink alcohol? And, and if you say, well, maybe not, I'll say, but can't we then postpone this to January? Because the idea that some of us have to live up to some of these rules are not always clear to me. But also because much of my influences, I guess, comes from Grey's Anatomy and New Amsterdam. And so I think certain things needs to happen. So imagine my disappointment when I was on a plane and a passenger collapsed in the passage, and a doctor comes and just does stuff there, and the person is picked up and put back into the seat, and the doctor goes and sit, and I'm like, but where's the drama? Like, wasn't it meant to be? Is there a medical officer? Yes, me. And then you, like, nothing. But that's often the expectations we have, that there would be drama. And one of my biggest sources of inspiration is, in fact, from medical professionals. And it's because whether it's in friendship circles or in professional circles, there's always a reminder of a duty that sits beyond self. Always a reminder of an oath that was taken and a lifelong commitment that was made to serve humanity. And so my respect for medical professionals come from that commitment which I have seen medical professionals make day and night, whether on leave or not, whether on a beach somewhere or not, or whether in a plane or not. And so the profession you have chosen is one that is ultimately in service of humanity. And so as you walk through this campus and as you walk through the hospitals or whichever spaces you're going to find yourself in, always be reminded of the greater good that you are serving. And that greater good and that service to humanity is something that this university in this country desperately needs. And so when the dean of your faculty talks to you about getting involved in student life, getting involved on campus, it is because we need to return to the values and the principles of putting humanity and the greater good sometimes ahead of our own desires and wants. And so there's a range of activities on campus that you can get involved in. Every year we elect an SRC, we elect school councils, there's clubs, there's societies, there's sports clubs, a range of things that you can get involved in. Get involved. So I remember many, many, many moons ago when I was in first year at that university, by the city with the mountain and the sea, that also bears the name of that city by the mountain and the sea. When I was a student there, I remember my first year was a complete shocker. Complete shocker at various levels. Because of my background, because of the environment I found myself in. And so my first year, often I was just really trying to get my head around stuff. Just trying to make sense of the space that I find myself in. And in my first year, I remember also already beginning to push myself. Because I arrived as an Afrikaans-speaking student, and suddenly I find myself in an all-English environment. And I gave my friends permission, who are carefully selected, the English speakers, and I gave them permission to correct my English. And to just help me on this journey. And so first year for me was majorly culture shock, an adjustment to university, adjustment to academic standards, adjustment to expectations. But Lord, when I arrived in second year, was there another culture shock waiting? Because suddenly I couldn't hide behind being a first year anymore. Right? Suddenly I couldn't say, oh, but I'm a first year student. And they kind of go, oh, shame, okay, let us see what we can do for you. Right? Suddenly there's a level of expectation that you kind of know the place, that you've kind of found your feet, that you kind of understand the expectations, and that actually you need to now start getting on with it. And so what many of you will find in second year is that there's probably going to be that level of expectation from you. Come on now, get on with it. This plane kind of took off last year. You were in the going up mode. And now this flight needs to stabilize. The non-smoking lights are off, the buckle lights are off, the seatbelt signs are off. We are now in flight. And to an extent, that's the expectation. But we are here to remind you today that actually we have a great support system set up to walk this journey with you. So whether it's the OSS office, whether it's your various heads of school, heads of department, academic staff, whether it's the office of the registrar, the faculty registrar, or whether it's the dean's office directly, there are people here whose interest is actually to see you succeed. Because guess what? If you fail, we will probably all be fired. Because the expectation will be, but dean of faculty, what is happening in your faculty that your students are failing? Head of school, what is happening in your school that your students are failing? Same head of department. It's our heads on the block. And so the one thing you can already take from this is that it's actually in our interest to see you succeed, if we were to be very selfish about it. And so the support systems that are there are set up to help you succeed. Now, in my portfolio, quickly, there's campus housing and residence life, so all our on-campus residences, and also the liaison with the off-campus accommodation space. In our residences, those of you and res, there are wardens and other support staff to help walk the journey with you. Then there's CCDU, Counseling and Career Development Unit. Now, most of you would probably not make use of that unit as a first port of call because you have the wonderful OSS here, but it is an additional resource, and there's often a cross-referral that takes place between the two units around how we can support you in the mental health space and on your career development journey. Then there's the campus clinic. It's a primary healthcare arrangement run by nurses, but there's also a psychiatric nurse there, and twice a week, a psychiatrist to assist us. Then there's Vet Sport. It is what it says. It's from recreational sport. I just want to run myself silly on a Sunday afternoon on a field somewhere, all the way to high performance sport. Our current junior Springbok of the year is a Vitsi. We had 2 Vitsis in the South African Olympic squad that went to Japan last year, and there was also a staff member from here, at least one that I know of, who was also a member of the South African Olympic squad. So all the way to high performance. And then there's this broad area called student development, life and development. And in that area is where we provide support to clubs, to societies, to the SRC, to school councils, and so on. And like Prof said, if you are interested in something that is perhaps not on the menu of stuff that's available, then please do start a club. Perhaps you're the person who loves sunflowers and you want a sunflower appreciation club. Well, guess what? If you can find 30 other people who appreciate sunflowers as much as you do, this is your time to start Sunflower Appreciation Society at WITS. And every week you will find ways of appreciating sunflowers. And we will support you on that endeavor with a small budget within our rules, because we want you to grow, to develop, to become the best possible human being that you can be. In that area is also what we call the DLU, Leadership and Development Unit. Again, they would work with OSS around your orientations, around first year experience, and just general leadership development. And in there's also Golden Key International Honor Society, which acknowledges the top academic performers and creates a community of excellent academic performers across the world. And the last one in that area is what we refer to as the WCCO, the Wits Citizenship and Community Outreach area. This is where we typically do traditional volunteer work. You want to maybe serve a particular community, and that office enables you to do that. But in that space are also two other important initiatives. The one is an emergency accommodation support. Sometimes you might still be waiting for funding outcomes. Sometimes life happened, and so that's an area where you can go to for support. And another important area, again working with the OSS, is the food support program. Pre-COVID, 1,000 hot meals a day to Wits students, and also around 3,500 meal packs to other Wits students a month to support them on that journey. And there's a number of food gardens across campus that are waiting to be revived. So your heads are needed to get the food gardens going again, and the produce from the food gardens go into the food support program. So WCCO as a space where you can come and make a contribution. But overall, my role is to support you, is to enable you, is to advocate for students, it is to hear you, it is to sometimes cry with you, and it is sometimes to laugh with you. And so if all else fail, know that there is someone at Wits whose sole job it is to indulge you. And that is one of the greatest pleasures of my role, is that I get to see you at your very best. And I sometimes also get to see you at your lowest. And I work with the OSS, with the deans, with the head of school, with the faculty registrar, and everyone to see how we can bring support to you or how we can make you shine. And so that's one of the reasons I said, but we will provide the infrastructure and the support for you to have a float, and we go through the streets of Johannesburg. The second big one that I quickly want to drop is the Wits 100 Free People's Concert. It's going to be at Starrock Park because we need as big a field as we can possibly get, because 40,000 people are invited. Well, obviously, COVID will hopefully allow big things like that to happen. But the Free People's Concert, you can read up on it. It was initiated in 1971 by Wits students and staff, the Wits community, at a time where black and white people were not allowed to socialize, to come together, to be together. And the Wits community found a gap in the legislation in that it said if you had an event where the performers, a musical event where the performers are free and there's no cover charge, hey, good times. Black and whites could party together. And the Wits community said, hey, we are going to show the world an example of what freedom could look like. And so the Free People's Concert was born on the library lawns. And when you look at the pictures, you will see wonderful pictures of people dancing, black and white, and all the diversity, having a good time in celebration of what possibilities could be. The last concert was held, I believe, in 1988 or somewhere around there, because legislation made it more difficult. But big names performed there, Johnny Clegg and a host of others. And so this year, we want to reaffirm our commitment to freedom, to human rights, and to creating a better world by putting a concert on again. And you are all invited to attend. So I hope to see all of you there as we celebrate 100 years. And as I go and take my seat, let me say a final thing to you. You belong here. You absolutely belong here. In the fullness of your diversity, you belong here. In the fullness of your backgrounds, of your histories, of your futures, you belong here. Never allow that imposter thing, that imposter syndrome thing, never allow that to make you feel unwelcome in this space. This is your university. And all of us sitting on this stage are invested in making sure that you have the best possible WITS experience. But it's a WITS experience embedded in serving humanity and in being the best possible human beings that each and every one of us can possibly be. So don't allow anyone to dim your light. Boys, should I say men? Boys, if the Spirit moves you to walk across to that young lady and say to her, the Spirit moved me, you moved me, I want to be with you. And she listens to you and she says, brother, I hear you, but the Spirit didn't move me. I am not moved by this proposal. Then boys, you gotta learn to walk the walk away from her and let her be. Otherwise, we're gonna have trouble. And the trouble will be you, young man, walking out the gate as the dean of your faculty signs your expulsion and me stand outside and say, bye-bye. We do not in any shape or form condone gender-based harm, gender-based violence, sexual harassment, or anything along those lines. And young woman, don't let a man dim your light. If he cannot stand the fact that you are shining brightly, then clearly the Spirit should not have moved you because it's not the one for you. Similarly, when it comes to the LGBTQIA+ community, zero tolerance to homophobia, transphobia, or all the phobias that you can imagine. If you're a member of that community, WITS is a safe space for you. And similarly, we want your light to shine as brightly as it can possibly shine. Because it's when each and every one of you become the very best that you can possibly be in service of humanity, it is then that we can fundamentally turn this country and this world around. So welcome. Say hi if you bump into me wherever. I won't be weird. Don't you be weird. Say hello, walk along. I'll say hello and walk along, but don't do that. So welcome to WITS. It's an absolute pleasure to be here this afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you in a few years' time, if not before then, as you cross the stage on graduation day. Welcome.
One of Jerome's favorite quotes is from Steve Biko. To bestow the greatest possible gift, a human face on South Africa, Now, students, don't you agree with me? He embodies that. Mr. September, thank you for truly being the custodian of student life on campus. Every year, a group of student representatives are elected, as Mr. September said, to serve as student leaders in this faculty. May I request Ms. Ontatile Sikali, the chairperson of the Health Science Student Council, to address you now.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Disclaimer, I tell a lot of dry jokes. Please laugh in support, at the very least. My name, as has been mentioned, is Ontatile Zikali. I am a fourth-year medical student here at WITS. I hold a Bachelor of Health Science degree in Biomedical Science and a Bachelor of Health Science honors in Medical Cell Biology. So as you can probably tell, I've been a WITS student for a very long time. That was one of them. Welcome to the WITS Faculty of Health Science. I wasn't sure about the best and the whatnot in the continent. Just know your education is in safe hands. That's all that matters. Who's number one doesn't matter. I stand before you as the chairperson of the Health Sciences Students' Council. For those who may not be aware, the Health Science Students' Council is a body of democratically elected student representatives, right? It is comprised of the individual chairpersons of each of your degree councils, who then sit together to create your faculty council. Ours is a council that stands by the values of accountability, transparency, unity, and effectiveness. Most importantly, we stand for academic excellence. We also stand for the representation of the needs of the health science student body at large. Our term started in the beginning of November, right, which coincided with exam season and exam results and exclusions and this and that and that, and so we hit the ground running. But what that has done for us is that it has allowed us to be exposed to a number of gaps that we would like to fill within our term. Firstly, academics. As I've previously stated, one of our core values as a council is academic excellence. For those of you guys who've heard horror stories about anatomy, I'm sorry, but it is doable, okay? We can achieve excellence, don't worry. So what do we aim to do as a council? Our intention is firstly to celebrate those who do well and those who show massive improvements in their academics. We would also like to revive the student-led tutorship programs such as Wrap It Up and Team Anat. As well, we'd like to have frequent been there, done that academic talks, amongst a whole lot of other things. For financial issues, we intend to rigorously engage various stakeholders throughout our term with the intent to find sustainable solutions to the financial aid crisis that our students go through every year. For your general well-being, we aim to partner with the OSS to ensure that their services and the delivery thereof is tailored to your needs as a health science student body. And last, but certainly not least, we intend to partner with clubs and societies who are subcommittees of the various councils to make campus more fun, right? Yes? No? We look forward to having more social events on campus as we've practically been socially dead for 2 years now. The most important stakeholder in the implementation of our plans as a faculty council is, of course, the Faculty of Health Science. Ours is not an us versus them relationship, but a partnership for the greater good of the health science student body at large, and one that intends to benefit you. You, as students, are also a major stakeholder in the implementation of our plans. In fact, without you guys, we have no reason to exist. So there's that. So reach out to us, share your ideas with us, share your concerns with us, give us suggestions on how we can better represent you as the student health science body. When we call for a mass meeting, please come, please don't, no, me, I'm not, please just come, just come. And when we have elections, please actually take part. Most importantly, as the health science student body, please hold us accountable. We've laid out our intentions and our values before you, and if at any point you see us deviating from that, call us out. Our job, ultimately, is to serve you. Finally, I cannot end my talk without a little bit of unsolicited advice. As previously mentioned, I've been at WITS for a long time, right? We've gotten through that. In my time here, I've been able to pick up a number of factors that actually contribute to academic success, which is ultimately what we're all here for. Firstly, you're a person before you're a student. This means the person you are needs to be taken care of for you to be a successful student. So get that ice cream, take that walk, have that moment of zen, before you study, Watch how it'll change your academics for the better. Secondly, no man is an island. If your coordinator allocates you a mentor, great, contact them. If not, ask for one. Most importantly, if there are resources that make your studying a little easier, share them with others. Finally, if you're unsure, ask. Ask me, ask your class reps, ask your friends, ask the OSS, ask the degree council, ask anybody, right? Reach out to the people around you, and I promise you, you'll be all the better for it. Once again, my name is Untatile Zikali, and I am here to serve and represent you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ontatile. We wish you and the Health Science Student Councils all the best in your leadership and academic this year. Needless to mention, as professionals, we strive to maintain the highest standard of ethics. Therefore, we have this oath-taking ceremony. I'd now like to ask Prof. Mahdi to lead you in this oath-taking. Students, please stand.
Thank you, Program Director. And I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. As a student in the Faculty of Health Sciences of the University of Witwatersrand, Johannesburg, I do solemnly declare that I will not divulge any confidential information to which I might be privy in my capacity as a student of health sciences. In my interactions with colleagues and others, I will be respectful of their dignity and rights. I will endeavor to promote the welfare of my university and maintain its reputation. I will endeavor to promote the welfare of my university and maintain its reputation. I will adhere to the highest ethical standards in my professional capacity and my service to the community. I will adhere to the highest ethical standards in my professional capacity and my service to the community. Thank you. So once again, congratulations on having made it thus far. And I wish you all of the best of success with your studies.
Thank you. When I joined the faculty in 2019, the following speaker, who's going to do the vote of thanks, invited me to the cadaver ceremony in anatomy. This is an event that is held to honor the bodies that have been donated to science. What a humbling experience. And this occasion is managed by a truly humble academic, Prof. Mahdi.
Thank you, Program Director, and good afternoon, everyone. My job here is just to say thank you. And it's the easiest job for this program. So I would like to identify several people that we need to appreciate. On my list is first the students. I want to say congratulations that now you are part of the Faculty of Health Sciences. I mean, those of you who are in second year, last year you were contending with Mr. Jerome on Bryan-Fontaine campus. And coming over to Parktown campus is a big achievement. And I will say congratulations again. Thank you for participating in this public and serious event of commitment. What the Dean has led you through is a public declaration. And it so happens that my school is the first port of holding you accountable, the School of Anatomical Sciences. It's interesting that we're doing this at this time. Ideally, this should be the first thing we will do before you will even near the School of Anatomical Sciences. But you've gone through that because we're in a pandemic and we're in a changing environment. And so I would like to remind you of these words. Be flexible. Be ready to adapt. And be compliant. COVID-19 protocols, and all other instructions that you'll be given. Just remember that because you are here, we are here. But I would like to add that in 2019, in July, we switched that. And we had to recall your colleagues of that year to come back to campus. It wasn't an easy decision to make, but my school made that decision to bring the students back for this section. And I think they were better off. So sometimes we have to call you back to come and do what you have to do. So congratulations for coming to that point where we recognize you as an important part of this academic project. I would like to also appreciate the parents, both those who are attending this event virtually. We recognize your parents, and we recognize your role for the support so far to your children. But just know that they are with us, and they are in safe hands. It's a joint effort, and we still need you, and we need you to support them as we take them through this desire that they signed on and this declaration they have made today. The speakers from the faculty, thank you. The Dean of Students, Mr. Jerome, thank you for coming. The Students' Council Rep, thank you for reminding them what you've gone through and what you expect from them. And I want to thank every one of you for your words of encouragement to the students. You will be getting a lot of this as you move on. I also want to thank the leadership of the faculty from the Dean. It's quite interesting that I don't think he bargained for the pandemic when he took up the position. But he was prepared for it. He decided to read vaccinology, and that was why he came at the right time. So thank you, Mr. Dean, for the role you've played so far. We are heard everywhere. The Faculty of Health Sciences is heard globally. The assistant deans, the heads of schools, the heads of departments, divisions, and units, our academic colleagues, the professional, administrative, and support staff, thank you all for what you do and what you will do for these students. We will also be counting on all of you in the days and months ahead. The CPR Foundation, now you know, as a student of health sciences, you can also have some things to do to break away. My school happens to be an environment of isolation. You know, we started isolating even before the pandemic. So you can isolate When the excitement gets too much, isolate back to the school. We have places for you to isolate and to make sure you're not derailed from your academic project. There are unseen people as far as this event is concerned, the planning committee. And I'll quickly like to acknowledge the Assistant Dean, Teaching and Learning, Professor Lindelani, Norman, Katsuri, Azola, Henda, Didi, Leanne, and Antonia. They are the unseen people that arranged this event. Thank you, the planning committee. Please give them a round of applause. And the faculty appreciates your participation in this event. It's a serious event. But before I leave, I would like to drop an idea just for you, for the Dean of Students, for the Director of OSS. I am an advocate of mental wellness. And the address from the head of School of Therapeutic Sciences did mention this phrase. In that head of yours, we like to change that phrase to say, in your brain, in that brain of yours. We want to give recognition to the brain because that is where the whole issues of mental wellness is linked to. In 3 weeks' time, we'll be celebrating the Brain Awareness Week globally. And I think I want to leave an idea of what I call mental wellness hackathon, which is usually driven from the student side. And the Office of OSS, the Dean of Students, that is something I would like to see us do in WITS, and the students of health sciences will take the lead. So once again, thank you for being part of this. The managers of this facility, thank you. And thank you, everyone. WITS for good. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Amadi. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, have a restful weekend, and students, we wish you a successful 2020. Siyabonga, merci beaucoup, Nkosi, thank you, Danki, and we'll see you on Monday. Please stand as the academic procession exits the Linda Auditorium.
No.